People are full of surprises, especially when you travel together. Thankfully, Vrbo is not. When you book a Vrbo, you get Vrbo Care and 24/7 live support, so your house doesn't surprise you like your friends might. If something's not as described or doesn't work, Vrbo's there. Real people, real support, anytime. Book today on the Vrbo app. If you know, you Vrbo. Terms apply. See vrbo.com/trust for details.
LinkedIn is pretty amazing at helping you grow your small business. We cannot stop your new clients from emailing you at 3 a.m. We can help you sell, market, and hire in one place. We cannot help you be in 3 places at once. And while we can't help you organize your calendar, LinkedIn can help you land more clients so you have a calendar to organize. Grow your small business on LinkedIn. Learn more at linkedin.com/smallbusiness.
We imagine a future. And our imaginings horrify us. They won't fear it until they understand it. And they won't understand it until they've used it. Theory will take you only so far. I don't know if we can be trusted with such a weapon. But we have no choice. What's happening here?
And action! Hello and welcome to episode 376 of the Filmmakers Podcast.
This is a podcast where we talk
filmmaking.
From studio films, high-end TV, documentaries, and everything in between.
You missed indie film, but keep going.
Indie film, yeah. I never do this bit.
I know, this is fun.
How to make them...
Close.
How?
Go on.
Fuck, what is it?
How many episodes have you done?
I don't know, but I never do this bit. How to make them, how to royally not F them up.
That'll do.
Yeah.
Yes.
How to make them, how to get them made, and how to royally... No.
How to royally F up the intro. Well done, Dom.
Are we using this?
Definitely. You are Dom Lenoir, and who am I?
You're Giles Alderson.
I am indeed. Welcome to the Filmmakers Podcast. It's not usually this messy, but we are today talking about Oppenheimer.
Or Oppenheimer, for anyone that missed the pun, or hasn't had the pun yet.
No, I'm sure they did. We are delighted to have on the team behind Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer. We have Jamie Lee McIntosh, who did all the hair on Oppenheimer, and Louise Abel, who did the makeup and prosthetics. We also have Jennifer Lane, the editor, as well as Ellen Mirojnik, the costume designer. These are all heads of department on major movies. Not just Oppenheimer, but they've worked with Christopher Nolan relentlessly. It was an absolute delight to sit down with them, wasn't it, Dom?
Oh, what a treat. What a treat.
It really was. A massive thank you to Tolly Shields for sorting this out for us. She is a wonderful wife of Mark Shields, filmmaker.
Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. as well.
Indeed, and reached out and said, hey, would you be interested in speaking to the Oppenheimer girls? And we, of course, went. Of course we want to chat to them. They're amazing, and what a treat it was.
It's doing incredibly well, Oppenheimer, on the awards season. So far, we've got the Golden Globes, where it has already won 5 awards, including Best Drama, Best Actor for Cillian Murphy, Best Score for Ludwig Göransson, and Best Supporting Actor for Robert Downey Jr. And it's got a hell of a lot of BAFTA nominations as well. And all 4 of our fantastic guests from today are nominated as well.
What did we go into details about, Dom?
Well,
Can you remember? It was last year.
Yeah, no, we had a very... There was a mixture of first-time Nolan collaborators and HODs that had worked with Christopher on multiple projects. So it was really exciting to see what it was like going in and pitching for a first time working with Christopher Nolan versus working on some of the outrageous classics like Interstellar, Inception, etc. And just what his process is, how he prepares, how he likes his heads of departments to prepare. I mean, it was just such an in-depth discussion. And we really got to hear out how they think as well as how he thinks. Absolutely
right. Dom's right. This is a treat for you. It was a treat for us to chat to them anyway. But just in general, the knowledge and skill and thought process, and they were all amazing as well. They were just fantastic guests. Each of these, we could potentially do this separate. They were that good. It's a bit of a long one, but it is amazing. You are going to love it. We should just get to it because it's a long one. And who do you think we should go with first, Dom? Should we go editor, costume designer, and they were together, Jamie Lee McIntosh and Louisa Abel on the makeup and hair department? What do you think?
Let's do it in chronological order because we're really fun. That's where we did the interviews of.
That was fun because that was the order we did it in, which was Jamie Lee McIntosh and Louisa Abel. They were first. They sat down with us first. But I believe it was Louisa's first ever podcast that she'd done.
Imagine having your first podcast with us. Read that for better or for worse.
Yes, imagine that. So, Jamie Lee McIntosh, some of her credits as a hairstylist include, there's so many, it's crazy. We'll be reading credits for days and years to come. King Kong, Lovely Bones, Avatar, The Hobbit, Unexpected Journey. She did all the Hobbit movies. Underworld, Pirates of the Caribbean, Black Panther.
Oh, Underworld, that is a classic. That's a rare gem, Underworld. Like underrated,
right? Indeed.
kind of genre-y, but actually really fun and actually pretty well done as well.
Yes, absolutely. Then she's been hair department head on Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil and Vile, Captain Marvel, Ad Astra, Bombshell, Don't Worry Darling, Blonde, Babylon, Next Girl Wins, and now Oppenheimer. I mean, you don't get much more experience than this. So that's Lee McIntosh, hair department. And joining her is Louisa Abel. Now, let's read out some of her credits as well. She has worked on, oh my God, this list is this is crazy. The stuff just with, she did Shooting Fish, was one of her first films, which was this fantastic British movie directed by Stephen Schwartz. She also worked on Hollow Man, Catch Me If You Can, American Splendor, 21 Grams. This Domino.
Ooh, classic.
Hollywoodland, Spider-Man 3, Charlie Wilson's War, Drag Me to Hell, Inception, Thor, Dark Knight Rises, Don Juan, Transcendence, Interstellar, American Sniper.
Not to be confused with Dom Juan.
Trumbo, Sully, Dunkirk. Knives Out, Gemini Man, Tenet, Red Notice, Air, and Oppenheimer. This is just unbelievable experience, and they're giving you knowledge right now. Let's get to it. This is myself and Dom chatting with Jamie Lee McIntosh and Louisa Abel, all about Oppenheimer and everything else. Enjoy. Hello. Hiya.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Okay.
So if you grab that, just hold that around him about somewhere there, that'd be perfect. Yeah, just relax. Like we're just friends having a chat. That's what we are. How are you? You okay? Yeah. Good morning. Good morning. Nice to see you, Jamie Lee. How are you?
Fabulous.
Welcome to the Oppenheimer. We can start with a little pun. Get it out of the way.
He's got that out of the way now. He feels better about himself.
Are you a dad?
Yeah. in spirit, not in practice. But
I love this. Are you a dad? She's called you out straight when he's
jokes,
not.
yeah.
He just loves doing these puns because it's fun. Listen, thank you. This is Filmmakers Podcast. Appreciate you joining us and having a chat about what you girls do wonderfully so well. So, Oppenheimer, talk about, your process of when a script like this comes to you, the project like this comes to you, and what you think about. What's the first thing you think about when you go, oh gosh, how are we going to...
on the line.
Yeah, how are we going to do, the makeup, prosthetics? You're thinking about the hair. If we start... Yeah, Louisa, start with you.
Kick it off.
Once we all get together, then we actually do... sort of with this one, definitely an orchestrated plan of how you actually do character development and what the director wants for the story. And so that's the initial start of the process. And it's quite complicated with something like this because you want to actually create characters that have arcs throughout the whole story. So we did charts that we could actually then show Chris, and then eventually visual charts that we could actually work off of to create the storyline plan for the prosthetics.
Wow.
And how much do you work with the factual versus the fiction on something like this, where you're obviously working with real people? At what stage does he jump in with, or you jump in with your kind of storytelling elements that you want to show with the characters versus what the archival footage might show?
Yeah. Well, with Chris, it's straight away. He always has an idea of what he wants for the film. And so with this one, we had everybody's photo, so we knew what people really looked like. And then we just kind of had discussions about whether we were going to do something that was more towards the character or something that just had a flavor of that. We definitely weren't doing lookalikes for anybody. But yeah, I suppose that's quite an important decision, isn't it? It's capturing the essence of a character versus going to a documentary, and it's always a very important decision as a filmmaker. Yeah, well, we definitely didn't want anything to be distracting, and I think that was part of the choices for all of this, of every stage of every character, of making sure that the audience was never pulled away from what we did. That actually enhanced the story rather than there's something that you noticed. It's something that you maybe were aware of after you've watched the project, but not during the film. Brilliant. Yeah. How about your sort of entry into Oppenheimer?
A little different than Louisa because it was my first time working with Chris. I'm surprised I got the job because I made a complete fool of myself at the interview.
Brilliant.
And I couldn't figure out how to get out of the room.
Really? What happened? I mean, you said it now. We have to hear.
Well, I got led into a room, and when you're led into somewhere, you don't really pay attention to the exit or how to get out. Unless,
right. Okay.
But I finish up the interview, turn around, and I'm looking at this wall, and it's like frosted glass, different panels, and I'm like, I know I came in there, but how? And I just had to turn to Emma, his producer and wife, and say, how do I get out? And I was like, the interview is going so well, and then I just made a complete dork of myself, and I was surprised that I got the job.
Yeah, sometimes that's endearing, right? There's some part of that that's endearing.
Maybe. I mean, maybe he's just like thinking, should we be hiring her? But then... I mean, that was the beginning of a great working relationship. So, yeah, Chris is so collaborative. He is such a fabulous leader. So you know what direction you need to go in at all times. And he brings everybody together to work these things out. So just making sure that we're all on the same page with our actors, with costume, with makeup, with hair. And, it's a great way to work.
Do you go into those pitch meetings fully like with ideas? This is how you see characters. Yeah, Louisa, start with you. Yeah, I mean, you have to be really prepared because Chris is always prepared, but with an open mind, because when we do these initial meetings, it's sort of everybody's together. So costumes, props, us, and the actors. And so everybody comes with these ideas, but it's being open and fluid to know that Chris is directing everything and has a vision. And then he can collaborate with the actors, and we, come forward with,
visuals that they can see. And then we have a conversation and then create the arcs, really, because certainly with this one there was so many. Well, we had 73 characters and 18 agings, and then there were many people that had sort of 3 to 5 stages of the aging, and so we had to have a very linear continuity that we followed. So we had lots of meetings about that and figured it out with Chris how we were going to do it and when those changes were, so that then Chris could film every which way, like we weren't filming in order. And so we were linear in our stuff, but then you see it in the film, it bounces around to tell the story. And so it was really important that we knew when we were doing these changes, and it was very orchestrated, so that it ends up looking, you get these stages that even though we shot them in different times, they look identical each time you see it on film.
Yes, that must be interesting, especially to get the prosthetics exactly right, to really work on the aging right. It's, they're 45 at this point, or they're 47. That must be really nuanced as well, especially if you're in the same day jumping an age gap as well, right?
Absolutely, because we were filming it all over the place and over a long period of time. So yeah, like every wrinkle, it's specific, like all the pulls that we did on a lot of the aging, you had to get it exactly right every time. And same with the paint work, any age spots or anything. Yeah, because it's IMAX, so you guys are going to notice if it's off.
Yes, it's true. Yeah.
What is it you get sent on the? Is it just the script? Is that the initial bit? Is it even the whole script when you're like first sort of brought on board to the project, or do you get sent other materials like pitch decks or any sort of hint of the vision? I mean, it's interesting to hear from what it's like to get that first email about the film.
For me, I had a meeting, so I actually was given photographs because there were so many photographs of all the characters, but Chris had a very specific view of what he wanted for certain characters. And so I got those photos, and then I read the script, and then we had the discussion, and then I knew obviously it was on IMAX and what it really meant. And then you have to really prep hard, because we knew what we were facing. I mean, it's one of those things of it's the hardest feat to pull off on a film. And so when you're going in, you just have to really focus and be really detail oriented and know what you're doing,
Yeah.
Same with you?
I think, Luis has worked with Chris multiple times, so it might have been a little different for me. I saw some imagery in my interview, and then once I had the job, I went in to read the script. It's not a script that kind of gets emailed to you or sent to you.
No, left on the table.
Yeah, you make a time and you go in and you sit there and read it and jot down as many notes and try and contain as much of that information in your brain as you can, and then your research process starts. And we had a researcher on the project too, right? So if there's someone we couldn't find images of for certain time periods or anything like that, we could reach out to them and get a little bit more. But I think by the time I started, they had so much to work from. Right. So that was fantastic.
Yeah, because you'd come into, there was already images, there's already placed, which is nice. Like Cillian Murphy's hair, for instance, I found it really interesting actually when I was watching it, and how it changed, how it moved, and it was different depending on the time period of what was slightly fashionable as well, even though who's behind the fashion. I thought that was really interesting. What in terms of on set, do you prefer to use real hair, or how do you make that work for you?
I like a mix of both.
Okay.
Chris wanted to avoid wigs, which at first I thought was going to be overly challenging, but I'm very glad that he went in that direction, just because of IMAX, I think. And when you're mimicking a head of hair, it's so much so much work to get that right. So with IMAX and his amazing close-ups and things, I was kind of pleased that we were using the actor's own hair. So when I first came on, I'd been told that an original schedule had been done around Cillian's haircuts. Yeah.
I was going to say, because it does change length.
Yeah. So, but then I think they couldn't completely stick to that for whatever reasons. I mean, it would be unheard of for a schedule to be centered around a haircut.
A schedule.
Oh, Lord.
I know. Oh, gosh. It's just two so
See,
far.
embarrassing me. But we were luckily able to begin with Cillian when he was young. So we had his own longer hair that I was able to perm, get that random messy kind of curl going on. But he was only able to keep that for maybe like just over a week.
Right.
Yeah. And then it was time to cut it into the Oppenheimer that we all know. But there was a time in between when it was long and curly to when we know him with the pipe and the hat and everything, and it was a little longer, so we had to use a little hairpiece on top.
I see. Right.
And Chris had said to me, he's like, I want it to be so subtle that you're thinking when you put it on, why am I bothering with this? And I thought that was quite funny. I was just like, I'm not going to think that. No, there's reason for this. And I did actually find myself on days going, why am I even putting this on?
Yeah, why am I bothering? Chris was
But
right.
when you see it, it's just like, oh yeah, it's just that little bit of difference to have a length change. But it's trying to find that length of shortness that also works for when he gets older. So we couldn't thin it out too much or adjust his hairline too much because we were filming back and forth so much. So it was more just in styling and colouring, so adding more grey.
So do you get to do a lot of tests with the actors before you get on set? Because obviously with something like this, if you pick the wrong length at the start and then you need to go one direction too far or another direction too far, then you're in trouble. Was there, or did you just have to know those things in advance?
I think when it comes to haircuts, you can't really test. You just have to know. Like when we were doing camera tests, I was actually having to pin Cillian's hair back to cheat it to look short. Like I couldn't cut his hair at that point.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the haircut was a slow process because we didn't obviously want to go too far and then not be able to, glue it back on. So you just easy does it, I think, until you find the right length.
Right.
Yeah.
Is it similar with makeup prosthetics? How many tests do you do? What's that whole process like? Does it differ from film to film as well, I imagine?
It does. I mean, for IMAX, you have to test. I mean, you really do. And we obviously had black and white in this as well. So for our side, it was definitely really, really important to test. So we not only did camera tests, so we could test how aging worked on different actors, because it was literally designed per actor, per stage. So everybody's face reacts differently to prosthetic pieces and aging, stretch and stipple. So what you do on people's faces is going to be completely different, and how it moves. So you have to test that to make sure that nothing's off, because on IMAX, you're going to see it, right? And so we did pre-tests to kind of figure out what we didn't want to do. And then we started doing tests. So we tested throughout the whole film. So right to the end, when we're doing the oldest age, that was tested sort of probably like 4 or 5 times on every actor. And we were changing tiny little elements on the pieces to make it move better with each people's faces. And so some of the actors had more pieces on at the beginning, and then we reduced some of them where it didn't work for them. It didn't actually enhance anything. And all of those were seen by Chris. And so everything was really orchestrated on this one. There was no kind of guessing. So
What's some of the differences? Because you worked on Inception and Interstellar, two of my favorite, probably my 2 favorite Nolan films actually, as well as this one. What were some of the things that you maybe had learnt about shooting on IMAX and working with Chris that you took forward to this?
I mean, I think IMAX, you just have to be detail oriented. And I think every probably hair and makeup person is, but you really have to kind of never feel that you have it under control. Like you have to be aware every day that it's ginormous and work towards that. So I think that's what I learned from all of the other ones, that don't ever be complacent. It's like, if you think you know everything, like you don't, and just forge ahead every day, because it makes you cautious with stuff. But with Chris, it's like he guides, like Jamie Lee said, he guides really, really well, and he's very detail oriented. So you're being led by somebody who, if you don't see something, he'll see it. So you're that really helps, doesn't it? Where you just don't ever feel like you're completely on your own. Like he does notice everything, and he's very aware. So that's great. And I mean, on Interstellar, we did one aging at the end of that, so that had helped a lot. Where, you know, obviously it was an older makeup, but it helped me understand what could work. And so I kind of reformulated that kind of aging and then started to process it for this project. But, you know, we were doing agings on this where it's a much younger age. So it's actually in some ways a lot harder because you have to hold back, because part of it was not wanting anything to be distracting, you know, and so you're pushing the aging to make people go to a middle-age aging. And it had to cap at a certain point because all of these agings were in rooms of people who were the actual age, you know. So you were, as you can tell, in the Senate or in room 2022, yes. You're flipping, you know, facing people who are that age and then going to an aging makeup. And it had to not be distracting in any way. So you had to make sure all of the choices that you made had value on the film.
And they did. I mean, it looked fantastic. I loved the aging, especially aging down, because that, like you say, that's harder. When people are old, now you've got to adding wrinkles might be easier, but I don't know. I'm not, but I imagine taking them off is hard, or trying to make them look younger must always be difficult.
Yeah, we had interesting tools. Like we used plumpers for Cillian.
What's a plumper?
It's a inner piece that you could put inside somebody's mouth to actually change the shape of their face.
Oh, I might do that.
Get the cheeks out.
Cheeky guy, yeah.
And then obviously with his younger stage, I took most of his freckles, because Cillian has really beautiful skin, but freckles because Oppenheimer did not have freckles, and then put all the freshness that you have in a young face into his face as well. So there was quite a lot of work to make people look younger for those, you know, characters. I mean, obviously help with Jamie Lee's hair.
Yeah, but it goes so unnoticed, Louisa. I don't think, like, even when you explained to me what you had done to Cillian, I was just like, oh wow, that's a process. I mean, I could look at him and see like, oh yeah, cool, he looks younger, but to know the process that you went through was fascinating. It's pretty awesome.
How long did it take to make him younger, and then the older? Was there a big time difference?
Well, one of the things we really had to test was making sure that we could get all of these makeups as short a time as possible, because we were filming for months, and it was a lot for the actors to, you know, be through that process. So for the younger one, we ended up getting it to about 35 minutes. And then for most of the aging, we got Cillian's makeup down to about 1 hour 15, which was great because, you know, he was having to do it for so many weeks. And then the much older stage, then that was a 4-hour makeup. But I had a huge team at that point because we had 3 people in each person so that we could expedite it, you know, for that day. And so we had over 16 makeup artists to do all of that work.
Wow.
Yeah.
And for you, Jamie Lee, then, like Babylon I loved, but I imagine there was loads of wigs in the whole setup.
Yeah, we went nuts.
And then coming to this, in terms of your, what was different? What was the process like for you? Was it still exactly the same? Was there things here that were slightly different for you?
I think it was different. It was more controlled in a way, I suppose, which was great. More collaborative in that Chris really leads that, as I was saying before, that with the fittings and things, Louisa and I would be involved from the very beginning. So you would have that communication from the start, not relying on wigs for these changes, a few little hair pieces here and there. And I'd never worked on anything where I'd had to paint hair so much. So for the greying, we needed to, as Louisa was saying with makeup, every head of hair is different. So we would have to come up with different recipes and techniques for each head of hair and kind of test to see how far we could paint, because you kind of get to a certain point and it's just like, that dude's hair looks painted.
It looks like a wall.
Yeah, so especially with the IMAX. So, and white hair has a translucency to it, so it's difficult to coat hair with something
to make it look
try and make it look like that. Yeah. So it was just painting hair strand by strand sometimes. Yeah. So we would airbrush, we would paint with brushes, we would use pens, like white and silver pens as well. So just trying to keep
a couple of Sharpies thrown in. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, was it really? Hope it comes off.
It does.
So, but at times you were literally watching paint dry on heads of hair.
Yeah, and just being very careful with how you are painting, so you're not.
Let him get away with a joke.
Yeah, that's what you tell him.
Well, what were some of the biggest challenges on this particular shoot? Like for you, like what were some of the hardest scenes or moments? Do you think?
I think a mixture of the painting and just staying on top of that plan that we had organised at the very beginning of just trying to make sure that everybody's storyline and those aging arcs and all of that type of thing worked, and just making sure we all stayed on top of it at all times, I think was, you couldn't go to sleep at the wheel.
Yeah, I imagine, and it's a long shoot as well. What do you like from directors when you're first jumping on a project? Doesn't have to be Oppenheimer, but generally.
Communication.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Bright, what is
A
it?
vision.
Yeah, and a vision,
Yeah.
communication. What things do you, like you've learned over your times that you go, God, I wish directors would do this. For our listeners, which is a lot of filmmakers out there who would love to work with wonderful people like yourselves.
Yeah, I mean, we're there to facilitate and help them get what they want on screen. So the more they can help in that communication and consultation, and even if it's just coming to us and going, what are my options?
Right.
It's just something to start with.
Yeah.
And also, I think having directors who technically understand what we do, because I think most people don't understand what we do. You know, the technical aspects of our job, the fact that, you know, makeup doesn't mean just putting makeup on somebody to make them look beautiful. That actually means aging them or making them bald or putting facial hair on them, or all of the aspects of our job, that's being a makeup artist and being a hairdresser, you know, within a film setting. And I think that really helps when a director understands that, because they understand then exactly what Jamie Lee said, that it's a tool to facilitate the story and that it has value, that it's not just something that's annoying and time consuming.
Do you think there's a lot of directors that don't think about the story side in terms of putting together the makeup and the hair? Because, you know, I found a lot of films that there's a lot of this kind of, okay, yes, there's a time frame, we need to get this character to look like this at the start, and then they just forget about that side of the process. Obviously, you've gone into a lot of it with Christopher. Is that something that's kind of neglected a lot, do you think?
I think there can be missed opportunities, and that might just be through not having that dialogue to know that there's something could happen there. Yeah. I don't feel like I see it a lot.
No. I mean, I think we were lucky on this one because, I mean, you know, even with like Hoyter and stuff like that, you know, I think that there are so many people that kind of on certainly on Chris's movies that actually understand what we do and understand that we can be collaborative and actually create a vision for the, you know, filmmaker, you know.
And they understand it has to work in camera.
Yeah.
Chris isn't going to be fixing stuff up afterwards.
No.
There's no CGI,
none, which is incredible.
None.
So it means for you, you're going, oh, everything has to be. And what a great way to make films, right? It's alive.
If you had any advice to give your younger selves when you were starting out in the industry, maybe looking for a first break, what might that be?
In your roles that you are now, Louisa.
Yeah, I think if it's something you really want to do, just trust that you will be able to do it. It's a hard process. It's not easy to get into the film industry, but if you want to do it, regardless of whether you know anybody in it, just keep pushing forward and keep learning your craft. You know, you can do that in many ways. So just always keep looking to learn and forge ahead, you know.
Great.
Yeah, I think if you think you know it all, then you should retire. I think you have to understand what it is that you're getting into, and maybe that is talking to people about what it truly is like, and you have to love it. Because if you don't love it, you would be miserable, I think, with the amount of hours we do. And yeah, it's all consuming, I think, when you are on a job. So you have to love it.
Yeah, and definitely with this kind of level film, you know, as you can tell, you have to put everything into it. So it's like, yeah, I agree with Jamie Lee. You really need to love it.
Brilliant.
This has been amazing. Thank you, Jamie Lee. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Louisa.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And congratulations on an amazing film. I
Yay.
loved it. Really, really wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, girls. That was enjoyable. I hope you did enjoy that. Wow. Again, this is just so cool to get this insight. It was something Phil Hawkins had mentioned, actually. He really enjoyed the episode we did on The Killer with Eric Messerschmidt and Kurt Baxter and Kleiss as well, talking about how they made that.
And Dom
Lenoir, talking about how they made Fincher's The Killer. And it's just great to get more people behind the scenes. Phil asked for it. We have delivered.
Got to give him something after he lost the annual quiz to me.
He lost it by not being there. He lost it. Forfeited the quiz. If you've not listened to that episode, by the way, our Christmas special, do go listen. And if you haven't heard last week's episodes with James Hawes, One Life and Slow Horses director, and Friday's episode with George C. Wolfe talking about Rustin and Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, then do go listen to them. After you've listened to this, of course. Next in the list of Oppenheimer amazing people behind the scenes, we're going to go with editor Jennifer Lame. We had fun talking to Jennifer. She was incredible.
What a wonderful, friendly human being, eh?
Yes, really friendly, really open.
Talented as well.
Yeah, very talented. This is the second time she'd worked with Nolan. The first time was on Tenet. Not a bad one to edit for your first one, going backwards.
I mean, if you're going to edit something, it's that or Memento, isn't it? Really,
Yeah.
in terms of like one to Nolan confusion
and going backwards. But she does talk about that and how they did it as well, and Oppenheimer as well. But other editing credits include Francis Ha, The Lovely Bones, Manchester by the Sea, very underrated. Manchester by the Sea, Hereditary.
She's done some great ones.
Midsummer, she did additional editing on. Marriage Story, main editor. Judas and the Black Messiah, additional editing. Don't Worry Darling, Blonde. But Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, and Postcard from Earth are our latest ones as well, which is Darren Aronofsky, which is not out yet. And Oppenheimer. Again, she's amazing. We don't need to do any more intro than just what her credits are and what she says, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is Jennifer Lane, myself and Dom. Have fun.
How are you doing other than the jet lag?
I'm doing great. I love London.
Yeah.
I love being here. Like, all I do is walk around the city and go. I love book shopping here because you guys have way better covers.
Yeah.
The UK covers are just so much better than the American. And I'm like a book nerd, so I like a nice cover.
You mean the front cover? You mean the sleeve?
I know it sounds so silly, but yes.
Yeah.
Like, I just got this Claire Keegan book, Antarctica. I think it's one of the first ones. It has this like great cat on the cover, and I looked up the American version. It's like a woman on a beach, and like her it's like, why would I want to own that? I don't, but I got the cat one.
That's amazing. Do you still read filmmaking books?
It's funny. I'm reading this Mike Nichols book right now, which is actually great.
Okay.
It's quite thick. So what I do is I do like audiobook. Like last night when I got back, I was chilling in my room and trying to get to sleep. So I was listening to it. And then I have the physical copy too. That's how I got through Anna Karenina recently.
That's how you got through it.
Well, no, it's just, I feel like.
I would take that as an official endorsement for that movie.
book. It was an amazing experience. I love the book, but I realized like the way people used to read back in the days, they would just read all the time, right? But we can't do that because we have like the phones and work and whatever. So in order to stay immersed, what I did is I would read it all the time. And then whenever I was in the car or doing things, or I would go for a walk at work and I would listen to it to like stay in the world.
Yeah.
And it helps so much because then I just became like obsessed. as opposed to just reading the physical copy. You can't, because it's so big, you can only read it really like at night.
And it hurts your hand because you've got to hold it, right? I honestly, that's what bothers me about heavy books.
And the eyes. Yeah.
The eyes, that's why I wear
yeah.
glasses now on. But the heaviness of it, when I'm in bed, my wrist goes, I'm struggling here.
No, really, it's true.
Yeah.
It hurts.
Yeah.
So you read sort of have you read a lot of fiction? Has that helped inspire, get to where you are in your career? Like has that always been
that's
a
funny?
I
don't know about that.
No?
I don't know if it's helped me in my career, but it's just helped me like mentally. I think it's a good way, especially when you stare at computers all the time.
Yeah.
It's a good way to do something different with your brain.
Yeah.
It's soothing.
Well, what got you into it? What was the thing for you that went, this is what I want to do?
Oh, I think when I was younger, I just was obsessed with movies. I was the third child, like nobody really cared about me, and I would just watch TV a lot. But this is back in the day when you have cable, so it's just like HBO, just like movies all the time. And then like we had the video stores, and I would just, where they had it arranged by director, and I would go to like the Hitchcock section and like devour it.
Wow,
like,
nice.
And so, and I would watch trashy stuff too, like all the John Carpenter movies and all that stuff.
That's the best stuff as well. Right? Yeah.
But yeah, I just was really into movies as a kid. And then I ended up going to a film-ish school.
Film-ish school.
It was called Wesleyan in Connecticut. It's in America. It's in the U.S. It's not like an NYU type of school where it's more like watching movies and talking about them in a little more cerebral.
Like film theory sort of stuff.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
And then while I was there, you make a thesis. And I ended up making a documentary. And I shot hours and hours of film about these like weirdos who owned a store who were fighting the local town to build this mural. And I got like really into the weeds of it. And they were all very strange. And it was really funny. But I had just hours and hours of footage. And I just became obsessed with editing this like 10-minute documentary. And after that, I was like, oh, this is really great. I love this. And so after college, I just continued to do that. And I think I was also I just wanted to work. I had a lot of friends who I went to school with who were like, I'm going to go direct and raise money and try to make short films. And I was like, I just want to get to work. And I have this skill. So I just moved out to LA and I tried to work and get jobs. And editing was something I felt like I had a skill at. So.
And how did you do that? How did you? You said I just wanted to work, and I did work. How did you find those jobs?
I just went to LA. I tried to meet as many people as possible. I ended up doing, crappy jobs where I was editing commercials from stock footage of this startup company, which was very strange.
Elon Musk's probably. Yeah. It was SpaceX.
And then I worked like the overnight shift on reality television. Do you guys remember The Real World?
I love The Real World.
Yeah. A job where I had to watch all the tapes and transcribe and log like crazy footage for the editors. But that's kind of how I learned Avid and stuff and just got fast on the computer. Just doing crappy jobs, but it was good for the mind. I think it was good to like get down in the gutter to...
Did you know that you wanted to go into more narrative stuff?
Yeah. But I think I knew that it was going to be a fight because it was actually good to come to LA instead of New York because I think LA, like I would try really hard to ask people in editing rooms like, hey, give me a chance, like blah, blah. But it was like, no, you need to do some other stuff first. So it was a good eye opener of like, you really need to pay your dues before you can like rise the ranks. So,
and whenever you do something like that, you do learn, like say, even doing the really hard, tricky jobs.
Yeah.
You learn so much from it, right? Because
so much.
You've got to do even more detail, even more trying to find a story from nothing sometimes.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, no, and it was really informative. And then eventually I just kept asking around, and finally my friend's sister I knew was a assistant editor in Woody Allen's cutting rooms in New York. And I was like, if she ever needs help, I will do anything for her. I'll drop everything. And one day she called me. She had an apprentice editor quit on her on a Friday and she needed someone on Monday. And she was like, if you really want to come to New York, I will hire you and get you into the union, but you have to be here by Monday. So I quit my job, got rid of my apartment, broke up with my boyfriend, packed all my bags, and literally got on a plane and left and went to New York and like left LA. And she got me to the union.
And what was it you learned on that first sort of dive in? I mean, how did you make yourself valuable in that first job and move from that into doing solo editing?
Well, first of all, working on a Sidney Lumet movie was amazing because he actually did film dailies, which is very strange.
Amazing, yeah.
Which is funny now that like full circle working with Chris Nolan, who does film dailies. Because I think when he first met me, he's like, "You've never done film dailies before." I was like, "Actually, I have." So yeah, Sidney Lumet, he screened his film dailies every day at 5. He wrapped on that movie every day at 4, so he could have dinner with his wife. Such a lovely human
That's
being.
lovely. Yeah. His
brilliant.
book's great as well. By
I
the way.
love that book.
Yeah.
I read it when I did that movie because
Right.
so I just shadowed the assistant editor. I helped her prepare the film dailies every day. I went to film dailies. I sat there and I just paid it. And I was just like, God, this is so amazing. And watched the editor sit next to Sidney Lumet and take notes. And I was just like, this is magic. Like I want to do this. And I just really paid attention. And then from that job, you just try to hustle and get your next job. And I don't know. It was great.
What was that? What was your process in terms of like just understanding how to cut really good story, like, you know, working out what a good performance is, working out story structure? Is that all just intuitive from your film background, like growing up watching films and just having good film taste, or did you like really jump into research? Like, how did you kind of get to the point where you are now, where you're working on Christopher Nolan films?
Yeah. That's such a hard question.
Yeah,
I
Dom.
struggle with that question.
Yeah,
a
well,
lot.
I mean, because there's different parts to it. Isn't there? There's like a
totally.
little stages to get to that. Like,
I think for me, I'm a quite obsessive personality, and my first full editing credit was Frances Ha with Noah Baumbach, and I think that was quite a unique experience in the sense that I was brought on as an assistant who could cut. So because there was an editor on, so I would prep everything and be the assistant editor, and then if he would throw me scenes and do stuff like that, and I would cut scenes. But eventually he had to leave to go do something else. And then they were going to find another editor. But I knew the footage so well because I had watched all the footage. I'd organized it. I was just like immersed in it. And I really felt very connected to that story because I was in a similar place in my life where I was just like young and I had a similar relationship with a woman, like a best friend so I just loved the movie. And Noah would come in and we would just cut together while they were looking for an editor. And then eventually they stopped looking for an editor. And I was like, okay, we're just going to edit this movie because, it's working.
That's great.
But I think like that was a great lesson for me of like the footage is the key to everything. And if I think I had a good perspective on the film, and I do think I have a good rhythm, and I do think it's just something that I don't know. I liken it to like playing the piano, right? It's like I learned how to. I'd been practicing it for so long. I've been doing it since I was 25 years old, kind of like immersed in the cutting room and that experience, and then getting to do it on Frances Ha and working with Noah. I just learned so much. He's an amazing filmmaker. He loves the editing process.
I suppose it's forging that relationship as well, isn't it? And then you work with someone like that, and you create that collaboration.
Yeah.
And then, you've done something pretty good.
Pretty amazing. Frances Ha did so well. So obviously that make a difference for you.
Oh, it was huge. It was huge.
Yeah.
And then I kept working with him. And I think his confidence in me and our relationship also propelled me forward probably quicker than I would have. Because just having that relationship was huge in my life. And like him believing in me and trusting me. And then it gave me even more confidence to experiment. And I just think, that was a huge film for me and just time period in my life. And it was just working with Noah and Greta, like they're just incredible creative force, and it just was really fun. And so I went on to do a bunch of movies with them.
So what were some of the differences between, because those two have a very distinct style in themselves, and then coming on to the Christopher Nolan project, like how did you get onto this Oppenheimer, and also what were some of the differences in their filmmaking processes? I got on, the first movie I did with Chris was Tenet. And I got, I just got an interview because he kind of went out to a bunch of, I think, agencies and was just looking for a new editor, and I just got put on a list and I got an interview, and I kind of didn't think much of it in the sense that I was like, oh, there's no world I'm getting this job, but obviously I'm going to go meet Christopher Nolan. I have so many questions for him. I love his movies and his process.
I've got questions for you, Chris.
Exactly. Yeah. And it was funny because I was doing the color correction on Marriage Story. That we were in the DI when I got the interview. And it was so when I went to go meet him, I asked him a lot about his coloring process because he doesn't do a DI, which is a DI, if people don't know, is when you're coloring a movie, you do it digitally, right? So you're in a room with a colorist on a computer, and it's quite, you can do anything. It's actually pretty daunting. You can go down a lot of rabbit holes because there's so many options. Whereas Chris and Hoyte do their color correction on film. And, you watch a reel, you give the colorist a couple notes, and then she goes and like a week later, I forget the turnaround time, but it's a lot shorter, and it's such a more interesting kind of physical process. So I was asking him a lot about that, about how he does that. in the interview. And then we talked a bit about that. And obviously I couldn't read the script. And I said, what's the script about at the end of the interview? And he said, oh, it's a huge action film. And I kind of laughed and I was like, have you seen my resume? And he laughed and he was like, yep. And then we kind of just said goodbye. So I didn't think much of it. I was like, okay, well, that was fun.
Do you think it's sharing that diligence between like that real detail focus that you seem to have from what you're telling us and what Christopher has? Do you think that might have been the connection?
Yeah, I don't know. And maybe that was the connection. I have no idea. I've never really talked to him about it. But then Emma Thomas, the producer on the films, and his wife called me a week later. She asked me a question.
What was it?
She said, why would you want to work on this movie? Given she was, like, given what you do, like, why do you want to do this? And I said to her, I was like, oh, that's a really good question. I was like, I feel like you guys make small movies and big movies well. And no one else does that. Like, people either make like smaller movies great or like big action movies great, but no one really does both really well. And you guys somehow do that. And I would really love to be a part of that. She was like, oh yeah, that is what we do.
That's a great answer.
Because that is kind of what, like, they can, like, if you watch like Memento, like what a fucking amazing movie, right?
Ludicrous movie.
And like the fact that you can make Memento and then like Interstellar, like that's crazy. Yeah. So yeah. And then I got the job and I was like, whoa. But that's kind of how it all happened. And yeah, I don't know exactly why Chris hired me, but it's worked out. And then
talented, obviously.
And then we did Oppenheimer together because we did Tenet together.
Right. Well, he obviously liked you as well from Tenet, and that worked.
Yeah, it went well.
Yeah. We'll talk about, I think we'll come on to Chris in a minute. Let's go Oppenheimer for a little bit. In terms of what's your process? Like, are you on set looking at are you getting footage there and then? Are you in a room straight away? Talk us through the process, especially on Oppenheimer, and how it worked for you.
So the process on Tenet and the process on Oppenheimer were quite different, because on Tenet, I was on set from day one. I traveled all around the world. I was in the dailies trailer watching dailies with everybody every day, which is how it typically is. On Oppenheimer, I had signed on to Wakanda Forever with Ryan Coogler. Then I found out, I went out to lunch with Chris and he told me about Oppenheimer and I was like, oh, okay. I am signed on to this film, but it's going to work out probably. And he said, let's try to figure it out. But then Wakanda kept pushing because it had a couple issues with, the pandemic and one of the actors got hurt. And anyway, it kept pushing and pushing and pushing. So eventually it ended up that I had to miss the shoot on Oppenheimer to kind of at least see the director's cut through on Wakanda Forever. So I came on to Oppenheimer the day they finished shooting, which is very strange. And I asked a lot of editors advice, like, oh, what do you guys think about this? And they were like, don't do it. It's horrible, because you literally show up and you have, 50 plus days of footage to go through.
Yeah, that's a lot.
As opposed to doing it day by day. But I obviously was going to do it. I was mainly asking for strategy, but nobody gave me any strategy. So just like, don't do it. And I was like, okay, obviously I'm going to do it. I know that wasn't the question.
Just slog through.
Exactly. So anyway, I get there and I see Chris and we have a quick chat, and he said, just watch as much as you can. I want you to just watch as much as you can. Try to, if you can put some of it together, that's fine. But the main thing is just like go through all the footage. And then he went off to London for 3 or 4 weeks. And I ended up starting from the beginning, which typically I would never do, right? Because usually I'm on set, so I get whatever day they're shooting. So I started from the beginning and I went through all the way to the end. And it was, on this particular film, it was actually incredibly helpful because I think it would have been, there was just something about it where also I love the script. And I think I had very high expectations for the movie. And it's like, is it going to live up to the script? Because I love the script. And it was so great. Like, it's just that fantasy of everything was like what I imagined and more, and not having been on set, every time I opened a scene, it was like a present, it's like, oh, wow, this is what this looks like. And this is gorgeous. And so I actually found it thrilling. And it was also really nice to have Chris be like, no pressure. You don't have to put the whole thing together. And like that kind of took all the pressure off. So I ended up putting the whole thing together, because it's when someone says like you don't have to do something, it's actually easier to do it.
Yes, it is. Yes.
So I actually had this magical 4 weeks where I just like immersed myself in the movie. It actually kind of reminded me of like those Frances Ha days where I just had the luxury of just getting to just dive in and just luxuriate for this 4 weeks by myself.
Right.
No pressure, no like, going to set every day and rushing to dailies and, I didn't finish my scene, and then getting that. So it was actually kind of great. And I would probably say I wouldn't want to do it again necessarily, but on this particular film, it was really great.
So how long was the initial assembly / edit that you did for Oppenheimer, and what were some of the changes that you and Chris discussed after that point?
Yeah, I think it was like 3 hours and 35 minutes, which is quite tight. But I typically cut quite tight. Like my assemblies are pretty tight. And I think that comes from kind of my Noah Baumbach days because he cuts pretty tight. And I just knew that about him. So I would never make like a scene like long, laborious, or, and I would always cut things pretty tight, even my first pass. But the funny thing is I didn't really cut the Trinity section. Because when I was going through and I got to the Trinity section, I saw all the amazing pieces that him and Hoyte and Ruth and everybody, like, it was fucking amazing.
Sure.
But I was like, you know what, this is going to be amazing and I'll just do it with Chris and it'll be great. I don't need to waste time doing it because for me, what was the most important is learning the characters. And I wanted to get to the other side of Trinity because one of my favorite parts of the script is the last third. And to me, that's like a really important part of the movie. And I wanted to just like really dive into that and make sure I got through all the way to the end. So I literally just like popped a couple things, made did the whole description of the bomb going off really quickly and then got through it. And I like always joke that the first person we screened the movie for is Emma Thomas, his wife, the producer. And he screened it. We didn't do Trinity. He was like, let's just screen it. We fixed a bunch of stuff in the assembly, but then we screened it for, I remember afterwards, she was like, that was really great, but I was really underwhelmed by Trinity because we didn't really tell her that we just kind of didn't do it. Yeah. But yeah, that was the one part I couldn't waste time getting bogged down in it because I knew that would take a lot of time.
How long was the first sort of full cut of it? Because it's a long movie anyway.
Well, the first cut was 3 hours and 35 minutes, but I didn't cut Trinity.
Right. So therefore...
Yeah. So that obviously added a lot of time back in.
Right. Okay. So because with that, that's a lot to watch. Do you do it in sections? Do you do reel by, going to the reel?
Yeah, I did reel by reel.
It's because technically, for those who don't know, it's usually 5 reels, right? Does it change?
No, because his movies are true reels, like true film reels.
I see. Yeah,
right.
Like in the digital world, it's all kind of fake now.
Yeah,
but
so we do 5
on his movies,
reels.
it's legit. So, and a reel can't really be more than 20 minutes.
Okay. So on this, there's a lot of reels.
There was a lot of reels, yeah.
Right. Yeah. So you cut reel by reel. So you go reel 1, which is say 20 minutes. So you get up to the turning point of that first section. Right. Okay. And that's how you go through the edit in each time.
Because it must be daunting having a 3.5 hour, 4 hour. Because you have to watch the whole thing every now and then, even if you're just going through the sections.
Oh, we watch it constantly. Yeah.
And that's a lot. That's a lot of hours.
Yeah, it is.
Compared to like an hour and a half. 2-hour film, which already it takes up a chunk of time.
Yeah,
it's a challenge.
Yeah,
is.
How do you do it? Because Tenet was reasonably length as well, but this was. Does it make a difference to you or not at all? You're still trying to tell the story. So
yeah, not really. Yeah. It doesn't really make a difference to me.
Okay.
It's like, does it feel long? But I don't really think of the time as like time, if that makes sense. And I think...
Neither does Chris.
Yeah.
Especially in Interstellar.
And when we were cutting, we never cut for time. So like there's this whole kind of thing of we had to get to 3 hours to fit on the IMAX platter. But we never... If that even came up in the cutting room, Chris was like, we're not thinking about that. Worst case, they'll make the platter bigger, even though we all kind of knew they couldn't really make the platter bigger. But Chris didn't want to ever talk about that. And he was like, we're just making the best movie that we want to make and we're never going to cut for time. So we never really cut for time. And you were asking scenes, like one of my favorite sections in the movies, the Pash sequence with Casey Affleck,
I love that. He's great.
It's such a bizarre left turn in the film because I know we're all trying to get to Trinity and they're like Los Alamos is churning and we're like going. And then all of a sudden we go back to Berkeley and there's this guy and everything's really weird and the gene stuff. But I think it's such an amazing left turn in the movie. And I actually found it really funny and so fascinating to watch Cillian just like squirt. Watch this man you've seen be so confident and such a genius and so cocky. And then you just watch him fail miserably at this one. Like he's just like a bumbling. He doesn't know how to kind of be sneaky and he can't lie really well. And he's just, I love that scene. And there was a much longer version of that scene. But I think as we're screening the movie, you realize like that point in the movie, you can only take a left turn for so long before you lose people. Yes. So like we had to cut it down and just make the best version of that scene, like maybe half the length because of the pacing of the film, not because we were cutting for time, but because we didn't want to lose people. And like every time we cut, like when he goes to see the president, Truman.
Oh yes.
There's a much longer version of that scene that I love, but But that's still like, after the bomb, we really need to get going back to Strauss and like get onto that storyline.
Yes.
So we had to cut that shorter. So anytime we cut a scene shorter, it was always either for character development or, pacing in the film. It was never to make the film shorter, if that makes
Which
sense.
is how it should be.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Were there many moments in this or Tenet where you get to like maybe go off script a little bit in terms of what, because I mean Christopher obviously plans the things very, very carefully, like the script especially and the structure. He often has something very clear in mind. Were there many moments where you can kind of go off the beaten path in terms of the edit, or is it kind of more on the
I think I mean honestly, with his scripts, it is pretty difficult. Like you're not doing major rearrangements or like rewrites in the edit, which is lovely. And I think it's great. But we would definitely move some things around. And when you do move things around, I think for him, it's a really big deal. So we would watch, a lot of if we move something around, we would watch, go back 40 minutes and watch 40 minutes after to see kind of how it affected everything. And I think in the beginning of the movie, we moved some stuff around. That montage, I think, was moved from where it was in the script, or little pieces in the, little pieces in the montage were in different places. So we would do little things and play around. But I think that's what's so fun about his scripts is they are so locked in. And so when you do change things, it's a big deal, but it's really exciting. And he takes it very seriously, but in a way that's fun, not in a way that he's not precious about it, but he's like, okay, why are we doing this? Why didn't I think of this earlier? What changed? And so it's all very thoughtful, which I find very fun because I love talking things out. I obviously love to talk a lot.
Which is great. For us, for a podcast, we're very happy.
When I'm in the editing room, if someone's like, I don't know about this, let's talk it through. I'm like, yes, let's talk it through.
Let's talk it through. In terms of adding like sound, because obviously the sound is so important as well in this film. For you as an editor, do you like to put sound on top? Do you kind of put your own... what's the word?
Temp sounds.
Soundtracks, temp effects to know when to pull stuff out or in to show Chris?
Yeah, totally. I mean, because I came from kind of that world of being an assistant and an editor and working on super low budget movies in New York, oftentimes I had to do a lot of things myself. Mm-hmm. So I had to do like a lot of the sound stuff early on because obviously when you're working on low budget movies, you don't have the money to bring sound editors on early.
Sure. Yeah.
You don't have music editors, stuff like that. So I was used to doing a lot of stuff like that myself. And I think Chris, his previous editor, Lee Smith, came from the sound world. So he and Dodie during this, his editor on Memento and Insomnia, she also came from the sound world. He loves sound.
Yeah.
So I knew that sound would be a big deal for him. And so I knew I kind of had to be on top of my game in terms of doing temp sound and editing music quickly for him. If he wanted to try something out really quickly, he doesn't want to send it to a music editor. Because obviously on his films, we definitely have hugely talented music editors, but they don't come on until a little bit later. And also, we all work quite fast. So it's good to be able to have that skill. So yeah, I put in a lot of temp sounds and we do a lot of music together.
Is that temp music as well? Like
No, it's not temp music.
So you don't have the Hans Zimmer or whoever is doing one of the movies
soundtrack scores.
I remember the Interstellar story about getting it done, the theme created very early on. So
we have themes that him and Ludwig do.
Yes, yeah.
But he doesn't give me that music when I'm assembling. So I assemble with no music.
Okay.
Interesting. Okay.
And then when he comes on, as we're working and we get to a scene, he'll be like, "Oh, let me play you this thing that me and Ludwig did. What do you think about this?"
Nice.
And
okay.
Then we start temping it together.
So he's keeping a piece of the puzzle like away from you to get your...
Yes.
That's brilliant, yeah.
It is brilliant. I love it, yeah.
Yeah, that's supposed to be amazing. Finally, advice for editors coming up now in the indie film world to get to, to work with someone like Nolan.
Yeah, I mean, I think my story and getting to work with Nolan I think it's great for young editors to hear in the sense that, I got this job with Nolan and I came from this indie world and I hadn't edited an action film and I hadn't worked in LA or Hollywood and he totally gave me this opportunity. It worked out. So I think, it's good for young editors to know that. I think it's good for editors to know that you can go outside your genre, like a lot of editors get locked into genres. Yeah. And I think it was really good for me to do a horror movie and do things that were out of my comfort zone. And I was scared to do those things. And at first I was like, oh no, hire a horror editor. But, it's just, I think it's good as an editor to do a lot of different things and not let people kind of lock you into something.
Amazing. Definitely. Listen, you've done an incredible job on Oppenheimer.
Yes.
It was stunningly edited. I thought it was fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
Tenet too, but we don't get a chance to talk about that. It was different. But Oppenheimer, honestly, well done.
Thank you guys so much. It was so fun to talk
lovely
to
chat.
you.
Really nice
I hope
chat.
I didn't ramble too much.
No.
You were the best.
Really good chat.
That was fantastic. Really good. Thank you very much.
This episode is brought to you by Beneful. Mornings are when the grind starts. Stretches, immaculate. Cardio, crushed it. Territory, marked. Sorry, geraniums. The dog routine is on point, but it can get a little wolf. That's why I fuel up with high-protein, Beneful freshly prepared meals. I'm eating clean with real meat and veggies, served fresh from the pantry. Kick boring in the bowl with Beneful freshly prepared meals. Visit Purina.com/Beneful to shop now.
Oh, that was Jennifer Lame. Oh, she was fantastic. Oh, what an editor she is. I'd love to work with her. She was so cool, so insightful, so interesting. What a pleasure it was to chat to her.
What a treat.
Absolute treat for you. And it hasn't finished yet, this treat of an Oppenheimer experience. By the way, if you must have seen the film by now. It's incredible. It is out on Sky Movies. Go watch it if you haven't. Or rewatch it, because now you've listened to these wonderful people talk about how they did it. Next up is the costume designer, Ellen Mirojnik. I joined in this one a little bit late. Sometimes in these press...
Oh yeah, you were... Charles was going for a shit.
Press rooms. No, I was just having a wee because we'd just we'd done 2 in a row and it was quick back to back.
And I thought, for a toilet and then it was like, well, we got the guest in and all that primo host training camp kicked in and I just started recording and went for it.
He started recording and so I was like flushing the loo, washing my hands thinking, oh, she's not in yet, and even if she is, it'll be just quick hellos and Dom will wait for me. No, Dom started, so I join in a few minutes into this and just go, hello.
Hey, I saved those precious minutes.
Indeed, and I have no idea what you talked about in those minutes, but I tried to join in as best as I could. Ellen was amazing though, and she was incredible. Some of her credits include she's been working in this industry for a long time, from movies such as Cinderella back in the day, as well as How to Get Away with Murder, The Nick on TV, Bridgerton. Feature films include The Fame in 1980, the original Alan Parker's Fame, The Flamingo Kid, Fatal Attraction, Wall Street, Cocktail, Talk Radio, Black Rain, Jacob's Ladder, Basic Instinct, Cliffhanger, Shadowlands, Speed, Showgirls, Mulholland Drive, Twister, Face Off, Starship Troopers, One Night at McCall's, Rat Race, Unfaithful, Twisted. I'm missing some out here because there's so many. Cloverfield, Behind the Candelabra, Need for Speed, By the Sea, Lucky Logan, The Great Showman, the latest Cinderella in 2021, and Kimmy, and now Oppenheimer. This is the first time she's worked with Christopher Nolan. There's nothing more to say. Sit back, relax, enjoy Ellen Mirojnik, myself, and Dom.
How are you doing? How's London?
I'm doing just fine in this lovely city. I love this city.
Let's start at the beginning for you. How did you get involved with Oppenheimer?
I got involved with the film when Chris and Emma were looking for a costume designer. And I went and met, and it was a successful meeting.
Good, yeah.
And I was really thrilled to be able to accept the project.
What sort of goes into your process when you're planning a meet? I mean, it's obviously a pretty impressive sort of meeting to take.
It's quite a meeting to take. However, this was just a meeting. It was not a meeting about the film.
Okay.
It was just a meeting as if I'm meeting you.
Yeah, okay.
It was just to see who I was, if we, I guess, connected, if we could feel comfortable in the room. And then it goes from there.
So what kind of conversation do you have to, because I mean, it's important to be on the same page, isn't it? When you're meeting someone that you're potentially going to collaborate with, that they've got to place a lot of trust in you. And it's about that rapport. I mean, it's just it's very useful to get into the mindset of what you would do. Say if any of us had a meeting with Krista and Emma.
You know, I think that everybody is different, you know? And so I kind of feel in a way that your CV is not necessarily your CV might get you through the door, right? But when you're sitting across from who you're meeting with, in this case, Chris and Emma, you are very, you're both in somewhat of a confident but vulnerable position. And so I think it's your instincts that lead the way. There's nothing that you can plan for. You must be yourself. And that's how I do it. This was an unusual meeting, because when normally on previous projects, all through my career, when I would meet, I would have read the material before meeting. So this was literally like a go-see. I imagine like actors go and meet on different projects, and you just see if you feel okay in the room together, because the project is so big and there's so much trust at stake. Okay. So not knowing each other, you do actually, your CV does count, right? Well, the person did so many projects, and there are people that are familiar to Chris and Emma, who I worked with in my case, and I think that would be the same in most positions. But there is quite a lot of trust involved. So you really must listen to your gut feelings. I mean, I've been on meetings where they were quite renowned filmmakers where I couldn't wait to get out of the room.
Really? Wow.
I mean, you go with your instinct, and you go with, not everybody gets along. That's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Not everyone is capable of doing their best work. And that's fine. And when you sit across from someone, unless someone doesn't look you in the eye, nor ask you any questions, and really just talks about themselves,
that's not good.
You go, I don't know if this is going to be a good collaboration.
And in terms of like designing and especially on Oppenheimer, do you from the very beginning think, okay, is this going to be a challenge? Is this going to be interesting for me? Not necessarily Oppenheimer, but any project that comes your way. Do you now think, okay, is this something I want to do? How am I going to bring some of my capabilities to this?
Well, that's always the case. That's always the case. I mean, it was not just on Oppenheimer. I only knew that it was Oppenheimer.
Right.
I knew nothing more. There was no material to read. I listened to actually the book, American Prometheus, just a teeny bit. It's a massive book. And so I didn't have time to actually go through the entire thing, but just to get a flavor. But that was not discussed at all. Not at all. In the case of Oppenheimer, once the job is offered and you accept is the time you can read the script. It's not till then. So that is very, very unusual. I understand the point without a question. But in most cases, on most projects that I have been part of throughout my career, I've always read the material first and then met on it. And you don't have a full dialogue, because the director or the producers are meeting other people. So can you imagine it's a lot of noise, to have to go through being the person receiving all the information about how they'll deal with their project and so on. So that, do you look for, as a director or producer, did they look for that one spark that brings, for the most part, a lot of people have a bunch of the same ideas basically going in without knowing. Right. So if you say, well, how do you feel about, what would you do? Well, I never answered that question. I never, ever in any interview ever answered, what would I do? Because it really is, I want to know what you would do.
Right.
What's your point of view? Because it's not my film.
Yeah.
It's not my film.
You're a filter for that vision.
I'm a collaborator on the film.
Yeah.
And I'm here to help see your vision through. So I want to know how you are seeing it. And that will actually inform my opinion if I can collaborate. Not saying that I would actually be offered the project or not, right? But just that's somewhat how it works.
Wow, that's so interesting. And let's say you now have read the script and they do want to work together and they tell you the vision. Do you then go away and come up with your boards and your ideas and send that to them? Is there mix.
Well, usually that happens.
Yeah.
Usually happens in some way or another. There is the one wonderful thing about filmmaking is, and what I always loved about it is that there is no formula. No formula. Everybody is different. Of course, when you work with the same people over and over again, you do have a bit of a shorthand, which is actually wonderful. But you don't necessarily, I never looked at any two films exactly alike.
Okay.
There's always two, even from the same director. There's always a different input of sorts. And so you look to find that kernel, and then I always do a deep dive after that.
What was the first process with this?
With Oppenheimer?
Yeah, once you've read the script, how does that initial sort of character building moment with you and Christopher happen in terms of like all of the characters? Do you go away and do all the research fresh without any input from him, or does he have certain ideas that he starts sending over, like a few images or mood boards or different things for certain
Well,
characters?
everything is always in direct contact. There's no sending over anything. It's always been in direct contact. So that's number one.
Wow.
But that being said, when it took about, I think, 2 or 3 times that I read the script alone. You go to the office, you read the script. And the first time around, I made notes. I was very diligent and made notes. And then the second time around, I said, well, this is crazy. I can't make that many notes. And then the third time, it was just really to get the full breadth of it, right? Without being so specific. What was wonderful is in that office where Ruth de Jong was working as well, she had begun her work before, about 5 weeks before I came on. The entire office was filled with research on the walls, filled, ceiling, floor to ceiling. Every single empty space was filled with research. And it was divided into different groups. So whether it was Los Alamos or the Senate, et cetera, or just OPI, it was very, very well organized. And the space was not big. I would say it might have been, I don't know, let's say 3 of these rooms, about that size.
If anyone knows what a Corinthia hotel hotel room is.
Sorry. I can't figure out whatever the space is.
It's like a sort of a small living room, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, or a family bedroom.
Family bedroom. Yeah, family bedroom. There we go. Perfect.
That's a good definition, but maybe I'm wrong about that.
Yeah.
However, it was not a large space.
Yeah, sure.
It was not a large space. So what it felt like walking through those rooms was an exceptionally immersive experience, whereby all of these images just poured through me easily, easily. And then you look and become more fascinated with one thing or another. I had done some research prior to while I was reading. I didn't do research before reading, and I did it after. And now I saw all of it. All of it presented. And it was a great, great, great introduction to all of what we were going to do. After that, we had a meeting. After that experience, Chris and Emma and myself had a meeting, a meeting about Oppenheimer and assorted other characters, but particularly Oppenheimer. And we laid out all the images of Oppenheimer that we could, I think all the images from different decades. And what became clear to me as I saw that on a conference table was, and I've talked about this before, but it was clear to me Oppenheimer's silhouette was the same throughout the decades, with slight variation depending on fabrication and where he was. He was a very, very, very well put together gentleman. He had fine taste. He grew up as a privileged young man in New York. His father sold, I don't know if he sold it, it might have been his company, a fabric company of very, very, very fine woolens that came from Europe into the United States in the beginning of the century. And so he was accustomed to very, very fine things. So that became clear through these photographs. They were all black and white, mind you. There was no color.
Okay.
That in itself leans towards, okay, so your imagination could be anything from A to Z. And we looked at it and we agreed that the silhouette was quite similar throughout the time. And he had a very particular style about him, and everything seemed a bit more voluminous than maybe your average fellow, right? That actually was somewhat similar to images that Chris had sent to Killian early on, when they first talked about Oppenheimer, of David Bowie in the 1970s, American Life. And so that kind of exaggerated silhouette was very similar to Oppenheimer. Was very cool. And I think I remember in that meeting, we talked about not only arriving at that conclusion, but we determined that he would only wear blue shirts of different tones, which of course would suit Killian perfectly, but it suited Oppenheimer as well.
So I mean, just going into the color as well, because you mentioned black and white photos. What was the discussion about the use of color and how you would approach that in the film?
There was not a conversation about color.
Okay.
All right. There was a conversation about textures, quality, feel, and organicness to it. I don't ever really remember talking about color, except that even in photographs, you knew at that period of time what the colors would be. You know, they would be in a gray family, in a brown family. There were different contrasts that you would look at. And I think just from experience, I would guess of what it would be. And then it was very clear on that meeting, and that from that meeting onward, we were not making a documentary. This was the base foundation of what we were learning. And then we were to go to the next step. That being said, I think the color blue came in because there was one colorized photograph of Oppenheimer on Life magazine.
Yeah, there was on Life
I think
magazine,
it was a Life
I
magazine.
think so.
And we didn't know if it was colorized or not, but we thought it was colorized.
Yeah.
And it was kind of a tinted, and blue it was just an automatic answer. You know, everything, what was really quite exciting in this meeting, which doesn't happen all the time, was that the conversation and the ideas flowed so easily that it just gave you a platform to be able to now explore how you would create Oppenheimer. And then in that meeting, we didn't really talk about that many. We talked about Strauss, who was Robert Downey, and looked at his images. And his images were very, Chris related to the image of him at the Senate hearing and what he was wearing very, very specifically. And he was very fond of that, and that we knew we wanted to recreate in some particular way, inclusive of the yellow, its tie was yellow and it had horizontal stripe in it. And Chris insisted that it was yellow, and I agreed. And we had it made. I mean, you couldn't necessarily find something of that nature at this time. So, but we used his sartorial style, if you will, as a springboard of how to design Strauss, because he was quite a dapper, presentational kind of gentleman, and he was bespoke head to toe. Everything that we had for him was made. 75% of the movie was made.
Nice.
It wasn't just vintagely sourced.
Right.
So we controlled quite a lot of trying to create a feeling of naturalness, ease, authenticity or reality, but with a bit of an original spin, slight original spin on it, you know? So those early conversations were just getting to know you kind of things and working quickly.
Okay.
Because it was a very quick uptake then go.
When you are designing generally, and it might be on Oppenheimer as well, do you kind of okay, you've discussed the colors, you've gone through it. Do you then come with maybe 2 or 3 options? Do you when you're dressing the actors, or when you think
No options.
No options.
No. I mean, here's the deal with options. A lot of people, options is like a key word.
Yeah.
And I don't understand it.
Cool.
I don't understand it. Options can be in fabrication, in style, in fit. Okay, but I would call it that. Okay, so if I showed you, do you like this pinstripe, this pinstripe, this pinstripe? To me, that's an option.
Right.
Okay? The thickness, the thinness, the flatness, the texture, etc. Look at that.
Yeah.
The fit. Do you like a soft shoulder? Do you like a slimmer body? Do you like a longer jacket? How are we going to interpret the period and so on? That's an option, right? Or trouser, the same thing. A woman's dress, the same thing. Do you like the blue one or the white one? That's an option.
Yes.
Right? Just to get a feel, it's just my shorthand to get a feel from how I'm going to communicate with the director. Right?
Right.
What because we don't know each other, right? So it's the likes and the dislikes of it. Right. And options is that I'm not going to go to a full design. Right. And do 4 or 5 suits or even 2 suits without knowing what those initial options are. It's all kind of related to the sketch of the character, sketching out the character so that we can formalize how we're going to go forward.
That's fascinating because you've got everything there in the first place. You've already gone through what you want with Chris or whoever the director is. So you don't need to go, well, on pinstripe or a non-pinstripe. You go, well, we're going pinstripe. So it's the thickness of the pinstripe, right?
But you don't know if you might have another idea. In that initial process, you might have another idea. You say, well, okay, the pinstripe is great, but look at this. This might be another way to look at the first time you see him, for example.
And I suppose it's a balance, isn't it? Because you want to have enough of your own ideas, but you also Christopher's got such a massive job on a film of this scale. He also wants people that he trusts to make certain decisions, or at least present, do a lot of the legwork before it gets to him. So it's finding that balance, isn't it? I suppose.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, what you just have to do is really kind of. I always find this is the key, and I really do try to share it with a lot of other people, young people that are coming in, members of my team and so on. You have to listen. You really have to listen to what's being said, and you have to really know how to communicate as a result of what you're listening to. You just don't go off and be fancy free and blah, blah. But if you listen and really pay attention to what the director is after, what he's saying, what he's after, knowing what he's made before, right? If that's the case, you have a bit of a head start, because you can be on the same page fairly quickly if you pay attention to those conversations, to what he's actually saying or how he's looking at things. It's a whole kind of sensory, that's how I look at it, a sensory way in which to begin your work.
Amazing. This has been fascinating.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for
You're
spending
very
time
welcome.
with us.
Nice to meet you guys.
Yeah, appreciate it. And
Nice to meet you as well.
congratulations. Well
Thanks so
done.
very, very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
So there we have it. That was our Oppenheimer special. The girls were incredible. It was so good to get females on the podcast as well. I always want more. We always try and get more. So, wow, we had 4 in a row. And these 4 are Oscar winners, Oscar nominees, BAFTA winners. And I'm sure they will win again for Oppenheimer. They've already been nominated in so many categories, I imagine, for so many other things that I haven't seen. But check out the Oscars soon, because I'm sure they're going to be nominated. The film's incredible and they did an incredible job. Next Tuesday, actually, we're doing another Friday episode. We have J.A. Bayana's Society of the Snow episode coming out this Friday. There's so many at the moment because of the awards season. He's obviously the director of The Impossible and The Orphanage. And now Society of the Snow. It'll be out on Netflix this week. So check that out as well.
Is that with host Giles Alderson?
It is with host Giles Alderson. And then on Tuesday, we have Boys in the Boat, producer Grant Heslov, with host Dom Lemois. Oh, yeah. Wow, you're in for a treat. Listen, have a great week. If you have enjoyed this Oppenheimer special, honestly, please share it as much as you can and let other people know about this incredible episode as well. I'm saying incredible because of the guests, not because we're in any way incredible. Trying to be humble.
Not that we're not.
No.
Not that we're not.
Humbleness of us. If you could get the intro right next time, Dom, that'd be really helpful as well.
Yes.
For now, though, Dom, if you could get the outro right, do you want to do it? Try to do the outro?
I'll try, yeah. And remember...
Come on.
Remember, if you rise to the top, it is your duty to send the elevator back down.
You don't... Wow, you just say it all and you missed bits. So if you're lucky enough to do well...
If you're lucky enough if you're lucky enough to do well, it is your duty to send the elevator back down. Okay.
Go on.
If you're lucky enough to do well and...
No.
Okay.
And
remember, if you... Yeah, say it first and then I'll say it.
If you're lucky enough to rise up and do well, just your duty to...
Send the elevator back down. If you're lucky enough to rise up and do well, it is your duty to send the elevator back down. There we go.
Yes, and in good, passing the buck host, you should pause at "it's your duty to," and then I can fill in the blank.
Okay, it is your duty to...
What are you doing? Just jumping in there. Thank you for listening. You're amazing. Go out there and make your films on TV and go out there and make your massive epic. Take care, everyone.
Bye.